What's up guys, welcome to your 6th Android tutorial for the new Boston. Again with me Travis, and what we're going to do in this tutorial is install some new software that we can use for I'm just kidding. We're getting into the XML and XML programming so we can set up some custom views and some custom layouts. So I want you guys to open up your layout folder and click on this main XML and you guys will get something like this. Now you can switch between the graphical layout, which is this, and the coding, which is this, by these two tabs down here, graphical layout and main.xml. Basically all I'm going to do in this tutorial is describe what's going on and teach you guys a little bit about XML. It's pretty simple language for the most part, but you know, it might be confusing right at the beginning. You guys will pick this up quickly, I'm almost positive. Now the first line of code you see isn't that important, because anytime we set up a new layout, it's going to give us this code as well. I mean, it is important, but you guys won't have to remember typing this out every time because it's going to define it for us. And basically you need to have that as your first line of code for the most part. And then what we do is we set up a linear layout which starts here and gives some attributes to the linear layout, and it ends here. Basically what a linear layout is going to do is it's going to hold some other items such as a text, and it's going to kind of define basically the layout of those items to a sense. So it's going to kind of categorize them and do all that stuff. Let's see here. Oh, got a new whatever. Alright, so what we're going to do is basically kind of define this linear layout, and or I'm going to describe everything that's going on within the attributes of this linear layout. Now we have this reference basically, and that's all it is. You guys don't Again, you don't have to really remember that, because when we set up a new layout, Eclipse will set up this reference for us. So that's nice. Nice and pretty for new programmers, where you guys don't have to remember the actual file path and type that out each time. And then the next thing that we have is the orientation of our linear layout, which is set to vertical. I was messing around with it, and so that's why it was changed. And basically what that is going to do is it's going to set all the items within the linear layout vertically. So for example, if we copy this text view, or this text for the most part, and paste it twice, since I cut it instead of copied it. So now we have two text, and we go into a graphical layout. They're placed vertically from top to bottom. That's just how our layout is going to work. Again, we can also set this horizontally, as well as you guys just saw. So I'm going to do that real quickly by typing horizontal and hit save, go to graphical layout, and man, I messed this up. Alright, but you guys should have fill parent. Again, I was playing around with this as well, but just kind of wanted to show you guys what is going on, so that's why I'm doing it this way. Save that, and then we go into a graphical layout, and you're like, where's that other text view? And basically what's happening is being pushed off the screen right here. And I'll explain why that's happening in a second. As you guys just saw, I kind of changed the code, but that's how you guys should have your setup, because you wouldn't have that changed code. So basically now we're also adding two more attributes to this layout. Basically we're setting the parameters of how big this layout is. And what the parameters are, well, the width is going to fill the parent, so it's going to take everything that's available for the width, so the whole screen's width for the most part. And same with the height, it's going to take all the height that is available to it, and it's going to set that as its basically that's its attributes, or its parameters for the most part. So there you go, you have your linear layout set up, taking the whole screen and set to a horizontal orientation. Now within here we have our text view, which is basically just the text, and again pretty much the same line of codes for these first two. Layout width, we have that fill parent, and as you saw I changed this to something like wrap content is the other option you can do. And basically this is going to wrap the content of the text, whatever text we have available. So then now if we switch to graphical layout, you can see the pretty much the parameters of this text view is wrapping the content of the text. So those are your two options for the most part that you can use. You can also use, pixels if you want, and we'll get into that later. But Basically, I want you guys to remember fill parent and wrap content. And same with the height, it's wrapping the content. Now the text says @string hello, and you're like, no it doesn't, it says hello world starting point. Now basically what's happening is this is using a reference. Anytime you see an within the XML, it's using a reference. So it's referencing the string hello, and that string is located within our values. So we have this values and we have this strings. So we're going to say strings, and there's a string called hello. So it's using this reference, and then this is the name of the reference, but it's displaying the value of the reference. So for example, we can set up a new string by clicking add string, and then we can set up a name called ref for reference and say this is a reference, and save it, and then go back into our XML, and we can also just do something like @string ref, and then we go over into our graphical layout. It says this is a reference, just that new string we set up. The alternative is you can also just type. So you can just type whatever you want without using the @ symbol, as long as it's within quotations, and there you go. You can just display your type. Now the good thing about the references or for strings is basically if you're working for a boss that keeps changing his mind on the title of whatever the application or whatever, if you guys have a title within your app, keeps changing the name, instead of looking through all this code for where you typed the title, you can just refer or set up a title, a reference, and then just go into your string under the values and look for that title and change the value there. So that's kind of the benefit, but hopefully you guys understand a little bit about the layout. Oh, one other thing. There's two ways to kind of close your statements. You can see them both here. Basically, we're setting up our linear layout here, and it's closing down here. Now, basically, anytime you see a /, that's when it's closing. So, example, you can use I just kind of set up two different text views and their closing statements. So we have our text view, and we set up some attributes, and then we use the less than sign, and then we use a greater than sign / text view, and then less than sign to close it. Or if you don't want to type this out every time, you can just do / less than sign for your text. So there you guys go. Quick overview for XML. I'll catch you guys in the next tutorial. Thanks for watching.